Lando Norris and Alex Palou take victory at the Monaco Grand Prix and Indianapolis 500 in two of the legs of the Triple Crown. This is Shifting Happens. Hello, everybody. BaxtyB here, and welcome back to Shifting Happens. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Marshall, who looks resplendent in the Caterham shirt, and Rory as well, and working diligently as always in the background. As we have our wonderful producer Fly, who it should be said, go Panthers! They're in the Stanley Cup. He works for the Panthers, so congratulations to them on making it to another Stanley Cup. We won't dwell on that too much though, because Marshall might throw something. It's fun. I'm still recovering from Tottenham winning a trophy last weekend. So last week even, it's just incredible. 17 years I've waited for that. Right, we're here to talk some motorsport because we're going to be talking about the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500. Last weekend was the big weekend in May that it happens. We started off with Monaco, and stuff happened, and then we had the Indy 500, the proper racing of the weekend, because we actually got some racing and overtakes and stuff. But yeah, let's start with Monaco. Lando Norris won, and that's the headline. Not a lot
because I didn't pick him.
Well, I picked him.
Exactly.
I picked him. The Lando Norris, not hater, but like criticizer, predicted Lando to win, and he won. It's a sign.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, Rory, you got both predictions right, mate. Yes, you had a 100% record on that one. I'm sure if you'd picked the MotoGP as well, you probably would have picked Bezzecchi and he would have won.
No, I can't predict it from the MotoGP. It's either the Cassie or it's chaos.
Yeah, that seems to be the way this year. But yes, I mean there were some big talking points in Monaco. Of course, there were. I mean, look, let's give Lando Norris his flowers. That qualifying lap was unbelievable. The fastest lap ever, a 109. I thought that a 109 might be possible, but it was always going to be on the limit. But just there was no error in that lap. Definitely the best qualifying lap of his career, without a shadow of a doubt. Charles Leclerc had looked lightning fast all weekend, giving a nice little filet for Ferrari in what has been a difficult season. But when the chips were down, Monaco, Norris delivered a lap that was worthy of pole position. I mean, we've spoken of great pole laps, we've spoken of Senna, we've spoken of Verstappen, it's up there. It might be just for the level of execution that was there. And people say, oh, he had a rocket ship. That goes out the window when it comes to Monaco. Monaco is just a different rule set completely when it comes to qualifying. And then in the race, we had the mandated 2 stops, which we will talk about. That's going to be the main talking point because they were bollocks. We had drivers driving slowly, but thank God for Max Verstappen for trying something and at least making it interesting, by holding up Lando Norris. It was never going to work, but he thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. So Lando Norris wins ahead of Charles Leclerc, ahead of Oscar Piastri. There's now only 3 points between them in the Drivers' Championship. Great result for them, finishing ahead of Verstappen as well. And McLaren are just away and gone in the Constructors. I mean, that championship's already over in my view. Rory, what was your takeaway from the Monaco Grand Prix?
Why is it on the calendar still? Just like, in a sense, why is it a competitive round? Can we just make it something like? Can we just make it like the All-Star race in NASCAR or something? Just like get them to do allow them to have points on Saturday and let them race around in go-karts or put them in old F1 cars on the Sunday, and we could let them just vibe out and maybe raise some money for charity or something. I think on a Sunday.
Let them race Lego cars, eh?
Lego cars, yeah. Lego cars is one of the best. We're talking about it with Indy 500, with the Weenie 500, but brand activations in motorsport recently has been on point. But no, with Monaco, yeah, like you said at the start of this recording, back to that, it was the day of classics, but it looks like Monaco's moving on the calendar as well next year because of dates and switches in the calendar. So we could not have the day of classics anymore. But no, what Monaco, yeah, I'm actually of the opposite opinion. I think that this Monaco race was better with the mandatory two stops. Like it was F1 tried something. Now I feel like it did add some strategy in the sense that it was interesting to see when they were going to pace. But besides that, it was still done. I will give that. I just felt like that the two stops provided some strategy in the sense that you want to see when they were going to pit. Like Max, he was trying to get like a red flag, or he was trying to see when Lando and Charles crashed into each other, so he would get like a gap or something like that. But no, I thought that I have to give props. F1 tried something, but I don't think it was still light in the light of it wasn't draconian enough with changes to make it an interesting race. Now we've seen what Alex Wirtz, the FI
GPDA president.
Yeah, he's made some suggestions of how to change Monaco, and yeah, it just depends. Do Monaco want to make the changes, and do F1 make changes? I just personally think Monaco will be fine if the cars got smaller. I think the cars are just outgrowing the track. Personally, it's just they're too big. It's like a roadblock. Like the skill is if you're in front and you can just literally back the pack up, which we saw in the race, or you can just park your car in the middle of the road and no one can get past you.
Yeah, the thing for me with Monaco is, well, no, actually, I'm going to let Marshall come in first because what caught your eye in Monaco? What do you want to talk about with Monaco other than the fact that it was really boring on the Sunday?
So, FIA 0 and F1 teams 1. Let's see after Spain if it's 2-0, because this is just a classic sort of demonstration, and we always have this. We had this going back to Bernie. Somebody tries to do something to create an intended result, be it Liberty or the FIA or the two of them in lockstep, which they usually are, despite all of the machinations to the contrary that they make you think that the FIA and F1 aren't, working together. They really are working together on these things when they put them in, because there's no way that they can do things unilaterally. So they said, oh, let's go with a two-stop. The F1 team said, cool, we'll make no difference. Just like in Spain, if they're going to tighten up the front wing regulations and everybody's going to write stories about how it's going to change the pecking order, and we're going to go to Spain and we're going to say, hey, that didn't do anything. Because this is the F1 teams are smarter than anyone ever gives them credit for. And I almost thought it was funny because it was interesting in the sense of the lengths that Williams and VCarb were able to go to hold up their rivals just more to prove they could was remarkable. Like the fact that they were willing to compromise their own position, their own track position. Because what you're doing, you have to remember, if you're sitting back 30 seconds, if somebody spins or hits a barrier or has a tire puncture, like you're giving them the opportunity to have a problem and still come out in front of you because you're backing up so hard. Like there were cars and wasn't the last point score 2 laps down? Like,
yeah, it was Mercedes
because the Williams boys were just playing silly buggers, weren't they?
Yeah,
it's and like, VCarb as well. Yeah,
I think that there's just like people forget how risk averse Formula One teams have become. It used to be that Formula One teams were all about like going for the win, and that's like the instinct of a racing driver. But the engineers are very much secure your position. Like their motivation is, oh, we're in 8th. You can't pass at Monaco, so the best we can do today is 8th. So let's do what we can do to ensure that we get 8th. And if you're, 6th and 8th, then we'll do what we can to ensure that we're 6th and 8th. If you're 9th and 10th, we'll do what we can to secure that 9th and 10th. But in the process, you're actually reducing your likelihood of improving that position through someone else's misfortune. So it's basically this like zero-sum game of like, how much can we compromise our own prospects in the effort to secure the position that we're currently in as the best option? It's very unracing. It really is. Like it's the opposite of what you want to see a racing driver do, but it's what the teams will do if you leave them to their own devices. It's like I often wonder, and my brother has pointed this out to me when we're having group chats about races, and it's like you'll see a situation like in Australia or in Brazil last year where there's a crazy rain race and you never know what's going to happen, and the weather forecast is unpredictable and you don't know what the right tire is to be on when, and you'll see that nobody will pit even though it's become apparent that getting off of the tire that you're on would be the best thing, but nobody wants to be the first to do it. And my brother always texts me and he goes, well, you wouldn't want to be in 14th position and make the wrong call because you might not secure that 14th position. Like, you might finish 16th. Like, what do you have to lose, right? Like, I get frustrated sometimes with what F1 has become because they've gone to the conclusion of risk aversion over everything, and just like whatever point you get off the start in Monaco, they've determined that there's no chance of you getting anything better than that. So we can just play these silly games. And it's unfortunate because it's a great track. Like, I still think that there's a place for Monaco, and there's nothing like watching a quali lap at this circuit. It is just insane how close they're coming to the wall. And these wide cars, getting them through those corners, you just like I was watching with my dad and he's like looking at them going through Lowe's hairpin, and he's just like, how do you even get around that corner in this boat? Like, how are you even doing this? It is amazing. Like, there's a place for it on the calendar, and it's just a shame that in race conditions we can't have an actual race. I don't know what you do about it.
So here's my view on Monaco, and I agree mostly with what you're saying, Marshall, is that there is something to be said for Monaco, like the glitz, the glamour, the history of Monaco as well. Like, and I'm all about that history and tradition, and but this race for me was painfully bad. Like, I mean, the fact that you're trying to manufacture some kind of interest, and you're kind of taking your teams for granted. And James Vowles was basically. You guys may not have seen this, but James Vowles was just like, "Yeah, I'm really sorry, but we had to do this." Like, literally apologizing.
Alex and Carlos apologized after the race, saying like we didn't want to do it, but we saw the other teams do it, and we said like, if we have to get points, this is how we have to do it. Like,
exactly, they had a chance to get double points finish. So did VCarb. They did what they had to do, and it's we said the minute they said they introduced this, it's like, oh well, we're going to have the teams will just find a way around it, and this is how they did it because they're too clever. Like, they've got all of the years of data and strategy to look at. It's, they were always going to work around it. I feel like if next year doesn't work, then I think serious conversations need to be had because it is getting silly now. And I think maybe something I advocated for on social media was that you kind of you take F1 away from Monaco, but what you do is you keep the Monaco Grand Prix as an entity, and kind of make it its own independent thing, and in that way you can open it up to other drivers from other series to come and have a crack at it. And also making the Triple Crown more accessible as well, possibly. Obviously that would take some time to sort out, and it would require a lot of legislation. And then I've seen Alex Wurtz's proposed changes. I think some of them are good, but they'll never go for it. That the organisers of the track will never ever go for it. It just, as much as I'd like to see it. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I'm going to go to the comments actually because we've had quite a few comments here. So Peter legend. Peter saying, why is it on the calendar? And he's agreeing with a lot of what Marshall was saying there. Why is it on the calendar? Dollars? Yes and no with dollars. I think I wouldn't call this a money track. Would you guys call it a money track? I think that it's a history track.
It's not a money track anymore because Monaco, if you said in previous years, Monaco paid a reduced fee under Bernie, now it's Liberty have said that you can be on the calendar, you have to pay a bit more money, but we have more of the rights. So like now you see more of the F1 branding on remember when Monaco used to have instead of when it was Rolex, Monaco would have the Tag Heuer logos or like that beside a Rolex sign. Now now F1 takes over the TV direction because the TV direction of Monaco was dreadful for years.
There's a battle. Lance Stroll.
The first time, I think last year was the first time, or was the year before, that we had a helicopter cam at Monaco for a race start, which is mad to think. But no, I don't think it's a money track anymore. I think it's just more the legacy of F1 and the history around it.
I will say... sorry, go on, Marshall.
Yeah, I think that Monaco is diversifying. Like, you can't deny they've got a Formula E race there now, and the Monaco Historic is a big deal.
It's very good.
I think they know the writing's on the wall. Like, clearly they've gone for other events and they have that track built for like a month now rather than just the weekend. I think that they've kind of turned it into its own festival around Monaco for, you've got the Formula E race, the historic, and then the
rally.
The rally
leads up. Yeah,
the rally
leads
up. Yeah, but I mean, I think that whole month of stuff beforehand kind of hints to the fact that they know that the F1 race is not the draw that it used to be, that it's kind of seen as not like, congratulations, you've qualified on pole, you've now won the Monaco Grand Prix. Like, can we just do that now? Can we just say that officially, that unless your car breaks down, if you qualify on pole, you're gonna win at Monaco? Like,
on this,
9 times out of 10.
a strategy blunder or something like that. That's the only reason you're losing.
Just on Charles Leclerc in 2022.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you give Ferrari a way to screw it up, they will find a way, right?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but on a normal race, and I think the other thing too is that Monaco used to be either the most dreadfully boring race you've ever seen, or complete and utter jubilant chaos. Like, it was
when
either
when it rains at Monaco, it's utter chaos.
it used to be that you would have Senna win by a lap, or you would have Olivier Panis winning. There was no happy medium in that race. Like, you either had a classic or you had a snooze fest, and it's always kind of been that way. But I feel like fans in this era are not as willing to watch paint dry as people in my generation were. I think I don't know why we were, but back in '93 the races weren't as exciting as they are now, but we were way happier to watch them than we are now. We complained a lot less about them. Like, I don't know why that is. Maybe it was just a lack of entertainment options or changing expectations in the sporting world. But there was kind of an acceptance that most Formula One races were pretty boring, and that you would take your one pass a race and that would become legendary. Like, it just isn't the same as it used to be. So I think sometimes when we look with rose-colored glasses back to the past, we don't understand like that pass that Häkkinen made on Schumacher using Zonta as a pick was like one of 3 passes that entire race. It's not the same as now where you got DRS and overtakes are very frequent. It's a completely different sport now, and people don't have the patience to sit through a race like this like we used to in the old days.
I'm not going to lie to you. I did nearly fall asleep watching this.
Lance
And
Stroll did make an overtake. He made the only overtake
At the very end.
report.
At the
Yeah,
very
At the
end.
very
Yeah.
end.
yeah, I mean, in terms of incidents, you had Gasly hit Tsunoda, which I think was a fairly open and shut case.
It wasn't
Gasly.
a brake fail. His brakes failed after when he crashed. It wasn't.
Yeah, I
when he
personally,
went
that
to-
was a people blaming Tsunoda for that. No, I thought that was Gasly's fault.
I think Gasly.
Then
Even
there was
steward
the-
said- sorry, back. I love how the stewards literally said, in inverted commas, "We knew you weren't going to make that move." So they knew he wasn't making that move. That's why he gave him the penalty. It was just like,
Yeah, there was the incident between Bortoleto and Antonelli where I think Bortoleto kind of tried a bit of an ambitious move and then put it in the wall when Antonelli decided to take his place back. And then seen a lot of people giving Antonelli crap for that. I thought Bortoleto could have done better there personally, but it was a rookie error from a rookie, so I'm not going to criticize him too much for it.
the move was great on the outside into around the Bortoletto's outside move, but when he went, or was it Kimi? He meant the move. Wait, no, was it? Who meant the move on the
Bortoleto
outside?
overtook Kimi, and then Kimi came back on him.
Kimi back. That was a good one, but then that move for Bortoletto wasn't the I think it was an opportunity.
I mean, from Antonelli's perspective, his day was over after qualifying. So make if you're gonna do a move like that, why not?
Yeah.
Both Mercedes moves were unqualified. We do not speak of.
We do not speak of Mercedes this weekend. It did not happen. There was no Mercedes in Monaco.
It's George's fault.
Oh,
well, no, it was actually your fault, Marshall, because you picked him.
Oh,
this is true. You did pick him. Yes,
I cursed him.
Listen, I'm just here to see if BaxtyB brings up the George cutting the whole track.
Yeah, that's coming up. Don't worry. What else happened? And then there was Fernando Alonso retiring and parking in front of a sign that said the exact points he's got this season, 0.
Told you guys he's gonna retire. I'm telling you, he's not gonna finish the season.
Well,
I'm not surprised at the conspiracy theories that he literally just parked the car himself. He just pulled something out of the car and made that car small because he wasn't very happy on the radio.
Yes, because he lost the position to Hamilton, both he and Hadjar. Yeah. Ferrari actually made a good strategic move. My God, to get Lewis up 2 places. And then there was a pass by Stroll, and then the entertainment at the end with Russell just going, "Screw this! I'm cutting the corner, and I'm going to take the penalty anyway." Because he was just thinking, it'll be a 5-second penalty, it'll be fine. And the stewards just went, "Oh, bet," and gave him a drive-through, which completely screwed up his race. And he still finished 12th ahead of Kimi. I don't know how he did that, but that's just madness for you.
I think it was just that George, like last resort in the comment that George knew that he could take the penalty and still gain from it. That's unfortunate because with the gaps in Monaco, you can a drive through, it's not a stop and go where you have to sit in the box for 10 seconds. You are still driving through the pit lane at minimum speed, a pit lane speed. So it's
I mean, it's just it was. I thought that was silly by George. He had nothing to lose. Yeah, but what? Why provoke the stewards like that? And then he just completely lost his mind after the race. He started talking nonsense. I know we've got the president of the George Russell fan club here in Fly, but
no, that is Diplo. Actually, I'm just the vice president. I'm just a part 2.
Oh, have you done a switcheroo? Okay.
Well, at least for this week.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought George was silly, and Mercedes, Toto Wolff basically admitting, "Oh, we forgot about the 2-stop." What are you doing? What are you doing? You idiot!
Because if Mercedes didn't do the 2-stop, they were going to get disqualified either way.
God, this season is going. I mean, literally, the season is literally going like this, and I'm going to explain why when we preview Spain. Don't worry. But yeah, let's go to the comments. We've got some nice comments here from Last Resort. He said, I think the part of that might be how reliable the cars have become. Actual car issues have become fairly rare, so teams are no longer banking on that, so they don't feel the need to push. And then kind of agreeing with my point of turn Monaco into an exhibition race. And then highlight of the race was George saying he'll take the penalty. That was funny. I think we've covered Monaco, haven't we, chaps? There's not a lot more we can say about it.
I do wonder about his comment where if he said he'd take the penalty if he only would have got 10 seconds as opposed to a drive-through. Do we think that they gave a more severe penalty based on the fact that he taunted them?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so I would.
Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No. Go ahead because my son is
You're the George Russell fan, so
no. Well, the only thing I say is that George didn't help himself at all when he reacted to it right away, or like over the radio. So when you have the stewards just sitting there hearing what he's saying, it's like, oh, so this guy thinks he can just do this and be like, it's okay. Like I'm only gonna get a 5-second penalty to a 10-second penalty. No, this is not, any other racetrack or like race league. Like, no, you are gonna get this. Listen, I don't have an issue with what he did it because if he would have actually not done it, and he would have done his pit stops, I think I've seen a couple of analysis. He would have ended up maybe 15th or 16th. So the fact that he still had clean air, even when he did it, even when I think Carlos had one more pit stop left or whatever the case is, he still ended at 12 comparable. But again, I guess after a couple of days, I see where BaxtyB's point is. You didn't gain any points. You didn't do anything at all for the team by you doing this, right? You could have caused another collision. You could have done something else that would have, might have damaged the car going into next week into Spain. But I guess I can sense the frustration because I don't know of a lot of guys driving a Mercedes, a Ferrari, or even a Red Bull that would have been stuck in that position. They would have not said, listen, I want to do something different. Like, this is not getting me anywhere. But I also don't like the way the team decided to, make the decisions with the 2 cautions that happened in the beginning. Nobody came to pit. They said, screw it. There's 75 plus laps or 70 laps. We're going to deal with it. We're going to pray basically for a red flag. And it never came. And
I'm going to say something controversial, Fly. What do you think of that?
No, that's fine. And then you have poor Kimmy just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to race here in the same position as I am for the entire 2 hours and just look at people. And this is great. I'm on Monaco. But I just felt like it was so blah. And then with Toto saying, when he spoke to us fans back about the race, it wasn't really about the race. It was about, well, Monaco's the glamour and it's about the scenery. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear about this right now. It's the most horrific.
And arguing with James Fowles, that argument between him and James Fowles was very funny. I enjoyed that a lot. With just the two of them, from afar.
I'm going to have a controversial take here.
Oh, here we go. Buckle in.
If you're going to, some part of me feels like NASCAR gets it right, 10% of the time. And that if you're going to be a total idiot, that you're going to get payback.
Oh, yes, NASCAR.
If you're going to back up the field on purpose by 5 to 6 seconds a lap and someone biffs you into the wall, that should be okay.
just for Monaco, we can allow that to happen.
Yeah, at a certain point, there has to be some respectability that this is a motor race and we went car racing, Michael.
Oh, I've got it. There's a rule. Basically, if somebody's holding up the pack, what they're going to do is they're going to send out another car onto the track, and that car will be driven by Pastor Maldonado, and he's just going to absolutely biff him off. He is there purely to drive you off the track if you're driving too slowly.
It's like Pastor Maldonado is the red shell.
Unfortunately, it will hurt to say it'll have to be Alex Dunn who will be the car that will come on the track and
the torpedo.
That is true. If you haven't seen the start of the F2 feature race, Alex Dunn just decided to forget that he was racing and take vengeance on Victor Martins for. Hang on, can I just check my notes here?
iconic line,
a perfectly legitimate overtake into turn one.
Yes, a better start. The crime of getting a better start.
Yes,
the iconic line of by the at the F1 race engineer game. No heroics into Sandoval. Is that like Alex said? Sorry, Bess, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Something from Last Resort here. The Lewis and his engineer drama. Is it something or nothing? For me, it's a complete nothing burger. Like not
back up the money truck to Bono.
Yes, back it up. I mean, look, Adam, there's been some issues, teething issues, but it's fine. I apparently he'd already left the pit wall by the time when Lewis crossed the line, so yeah, it's fine. And they screwed up on Saturday, which is what gave him the penalty, and that's on them. Yeah, it's fine. Peter, by the way, agrees with your NASCAR philosophy there, Marshall. He's given that a big yes. Right, let's talk about IndyCar. Let's talk about the Indy 500. The winner was Alex Palou, once again correctly predicted by Rory, and for the 5th time in 6 races this year, Alex Palou taking the dub. He's probably going to win again this weekend in Detroit. I mean, street circuit, right? He doesn't lose there.
Well, Detroit is a unique place because if anyone has watched Detroit last year, it was utter chaos. But Chip Ganassi did win last year, so I think it's going to be like that.
Palou doesn't care about your chaos, Rory. He's just a winning machine this year. He's going to Max Verstappen this. He's just going to break all the records. But yeah, the one thing he hasn't done in IndyCar, he's won the title 3 times. He's never won on an oval. He'd never won the 500. He crossed both of those off, secured himself among the pantheon of IndyCar greats. He did finish on the road ahead of Marcus Ericsson, who was looking to make an overtake at the end, and thank God he didn't because he got disqualified or demoted. Demoted, which would have been an absolute PR disaster for IndyCar had he made that overtake. People were saying this was a bad 500. I don't personally think it was. I thought it was a good 500. I didn't have the chaos of last year where there seemed to be yellow flags every 2 seconds. But trying to think of the meme moments. Schwartzman running over his pit crew, which thankfully he was okay. And then you had Rossi, who was in a really good position, and then his car basically blew up. And that extraordinary scene. Ryan Hunter-Ray having a problem. Connor Daly having a problem as well. There were crashes.
Connor was more of a strategy that they had to stick to strategy because if he didn't have it was really heartbreaking to hear his radio during that race, but the team knew it that he had to stay out because if he stayed out, he could have finished worse positions because of fuel save. So I think he had to do it, but it was painful to hear on the radio.
Yeah, and then, but the podium in the end was Palou finishing ahead of David Malukas. Fantastic drive from David Malukas, and ahead of Pato O'Ward, who once again gets a 500 podium. And even though my pick of Robert Schwartzman kind of failed immediately when you had Pato and Takuma Sato just go straight past him. But Marshall, I'll come to you first. What caught your eye then in this year's 500?
I think it was the unexpected performances from some of the smaller teams. Like Schwartzman on pole was very unexpected. Obviously, he didn't have the finish he would have liked, but just to be there. And then Ilott was running well at points. Ryan Hunter-Ray could have won the darn thing, which is incredible. Came from nowhere. And that, there was all kinds of sort of, like there were times where Devlin DeFrancesco was running like way up there on legitimate, like not off strategy. Like he was actually in the mix, and I was just like, this is odd. But one thing that was clear, and I think we know for sure, is that Alex Palou was sandbagging for most of that race, because once his pace was unleashed, he was on the unfavorable strategy. Ericsson had more fuel, had newer tires, and Palou just gone. Like Ericsson didn't really have much for him, and at that point where they were running down the laps, you know, it just, his speed didn't go down. Like he wasn't doing any fuel saving. He was just ticking off the laps, keeping the gap steady, or even growing it. Like it was clear to me that Palou ran a strategy of sticking it in the top 5 for most of the day and just waiting for those last, 2 stints, and then just, making the race his. A lot of times they say that, Indy picks you, and you feel that when, Ryan Hunter-Reay, comes to a stop in pit lane after leading the thing, and would have been a shock winner, to be quite honest. Like it would have been up there with Dan Weldon in 2011 in terms of privateer winning the thing, out of nowhere. Former winner, but that was 13 years ago, right? I believe, or 10 years, 11 years
Helio
ago.
in 21, surely, as well.
Yeah, he was a surprise as well. Like the privateers in this race were what really, or the smaller teams and the one-offs were very impressive. But I still think, if all things being equal, even if, RHR hadn't had his issue in the pit lane, I still think that Palou had the field covered off, and was just playing the smart game and biding his time, and he had it in hand. I don't think anyone was going to touch him in this race, and I think that watching all the way through, we were probably not realizing it, but he was always going to be there at the end, I think.
Rory, what about you? What caught your eye in the 500?
I think you could say for 500, it was the quickest driver won. In the sense that it was like Palou deserved. If Palou was the driver, I think fully deserved it. And I think I've heard discussions that like Palou kind of won the 2022 when he lost it to was Ericsson? No, or was it 21 where Palou was in the lead and he lost the 500 in that. It was that he lost because of who did he lose it to?
It was Helio.
Was Helio, yeah.
Yeah.
That Helio won it by being in the draft over the cars and not being able to fuel, like being able to save fuel and have the pace, and like it's like that. Palou in this instance basically
that was the year that Palou messed it up and Dixon sped in the pit lane.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. That was the one where it was going to be a Ganassi 1-2 until it wasn't.
Yeah. It was that one when Palou got taken up by VK, wasn't it? Or was that 22? I think that was 22, maybe. Where an Ericsson won that. I think 22 was when Ericsson won it, or 23.
I can't remember specifically what happened to Palou that year, but yeah, it was both Ganassis were faster and they ended up blowing it.
Yeah, but no, I think I agree with Marshall that I think a lot like the results of smart team. But no, Young Cost is not a small team. Like they are a small team the size of a Penske or Chip Ganassi, but they for the story they had of knocking out Fernando Alonso back in 2019 in the Indy 500, that like Young Cost for a newish team, like they were decent. Like with Daly. Daly's always good at the ovals. Like he hasn't lost it. He doesn't need an Ed Carpenter Racing setup at the Indy 500. It showed this weekend. But no, I think as well Ryan Hunter-Reay miscalculation with the fuel pump, and that just by a 0.3 of fuel, like it was crazy. That just they got the strategy wrong, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it was Palou deserves it. Passo, of course, he didn't finish second this time. He finished third. Off the track, and I think David Lucas, I think he needed this race weekend. He hasn't really settled in with AJ Foyt, but I think beating Santino Ferrucci in this backyard, Ferrucci got his. Ferrucci continues his streak at the Indy 500, but to beat Ferrucci, basically when Ferrucci has dominated all his teammates here. I know Ferrucci hasn't had the strongest of teammates in recent years, but I do think it was a good result for McLucas, and I think it will lift him up for the season going into Detroit anyway.
Yeah, I think to beat the McLarens as well after everything that happened to him last year with them was definitely would have cheered him up.
Actually, sorry, Felix Rosenquist needs a shout out as well.
Yeah,
he had a good race.
Especially all weekend that Mark Shank has been fast, and I think he's fourth in the IndyCar Championship. He's mad, considering how he was treated at McLaren because McLaren wanted him out in the last few years. So I think that's a good result for him, and hopefully continues for the season. But I think with Palou was 115 points, I think, in the lead of the championship, and he is. It was at the Indy Gala after the race, after the celebration of it. Scott Dixon said to Palou, Alex, I've booked you a 5-week all-intensive vacation. Everything's included. And then the presenter at the gala said, I think Palou will still be leading the championship if he out Detroit, if that happened. It's like, yeah. I think it's all set and done for Palou for the championship. So.
Oh, championship's done, isn't it? It's over. Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to talk about is Joseph Newgarden. I thought he was doing an unbelievable job coming from the back, and they were saying he was ahead of schedule, and then obviously had a horror show in pit lane when his car, they had to retire the car. But the 3 in a row I think was on. I really think it was on. I think he would have had a really good chance of doing it.
It would have been. We were robbed of an all-time like a close finish. I think he was the only car. Him and McLaughlin looked the quickest, looked fast this whole month, and I think McLaughlin crashes, taking himself out at the start of the race. But Newgarden, yes, I think he was the match for Palou in this, if on pure merit of pace. But of course, his fuel pump decided to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if the Penske's had finished, would they also have been disqualified?
That's the question we have to ask first.
Well, yeah. And that leads me into the next point. Question from Peter. Any opinions on Team Penske? I mean, we kind of covered this in the last episode, but obviously turbulent week for them, I think it was safe to say. Cindric was fired as team principal. You had Power and Newgarden start from the back, and then Scotty Mack decides just to crash out on the opening lap. My heart bled for Scotty Mack. I will say, I think Scotty Mack is probably my favourite driver, along with Pato in IndyCar, and I was gutted to see him crash out.
Larson was especially gutted.
Larson, of course, we've got to mention that, Carl Larson. We'll come to him shortly, but what are your guys' thoughts on just the whole situation with Penske at the minute? Because it's a bit of free for all there, and then really not having a good season.
I think the Andretti disqualifications will temper the reaction to what Penske did, because by all accounts, what Penske did was not as bad as what Andretti's accused of doing.
Yeah.
From a cheating perspective, and the more I read about what Penske is accused of doing, I'm pretty sure, we were sure in our last episode that there was very little performance being gained by that, and that this was something they've had on the car for a really long time that nobody else really made a point of mentioning. So it's just curious that they get pulled out of line in Indy qualifying for something that has been on their car for a very long time. So, and then, I know it wasn't Andretti pointing the finger. I think it was Chip Ganassi that pointed the finger at them. But, one of the major rivals to Team Penske is then done for cheating on race day, the second place car, like, ouch, that's really not a good look for the rest of the field when, you're going after Penske and they clean house because of this, and now you're Andretti and you're just saying, oh, it was an oversight, we're not doing anything. It makes it seem like, I guess it's par for the course when you have a team that's owned by the guy that owns the series, that they're gonna operate under a higher level of scrutiny. But there's also something about, throwing stones in glass houses too, right? Like, if you're accusing Penske of cheating, you better be sure that you're coming correct, right? And the rest of the grid are, policing Penske very closely, but they're not, they're not clean themselves necessarily. So I don't know. It's complicated. IndyCar has a lot to do to fix their policing.
Technically. Yeah.
I think we've lost BaxtyB. But
I think, Marshall, I was going to put, I think it's more of not Penske. I just think it's more of IndyCar itself, how the technical side of it. It's that, like, I know IndyCar said they are bringing adjustments to how they check the cars and the staffing, but it's like my question is with Andretti is, like, why wasn't this picked up in Indy 500 qualifying? Because surely this was on the car in qualifying. And why it was only picked up now? Was there something in the telemetry that they saw or they decided to look at? But like, it was only on Ericsson and Kirkwood. I'm guessing, no, this is just my thing, I think it was on Hirsch's car, but but it was on his car before on the car he crashed, not the
right. Yep.
Because why was Hirsch's car free if the two other Andretti's were docked the places? Because Hershey did have a crash, but because they did change the car, so I'm guessing that they went to that car didn't have the adjustments to what they changed. Well, I do agree. I think it's looking at it's worse than what Penske did, because this looks like it actually had a performance because of the mountings of where it goes in the car and the suspension.
It could be relating to I thought it was something to do with the spacers that they were using.
Oh, spacers. Sorry.
In the hybrid unit.
Yeah.
And that could be a cooling thing. So it is definitely something that could be performance related. And you'll never get the details. They'll never tell you the specifics, but it sounds to me like they were pushing it and they got caught. And this goes back to, we talk about Formula One and everybody's favorite punching bag, the FIA. But is it not better to have an arm's length group governing the policing of the regulations rather than the series itself? And, you're not even talking about, I think one of the reasons Formula One works so well is because they don't have to spend all this money, time, and resources on staffing the steward's office, the technical, the marshals, all the stuff that comes with the FIA. They don't have to do that themselves. Like, Formula One doesn't need someone sitting upstairs writing the check regulations, where IndyCar, that's all the same people. That's all, like, in the same room. They're all employed and collecting their check from the same people. It's a burden on the series itself to have to do that technical inspection, and it's a drain on their profitability as a series as well.
And at least the FI actually tells us sometimes what the issue with the cars is as well. Not in IndyCar, it's like,
right, they're going to be
it's drip and drab what you have to figure. Like tell us why they were. Like, I'm fair to say they tell us in why what the issue, but sometimes you have to the journalists literally have to beg IndyCar to say what the issue is.
Well, they find out from the other teams, right? Marshall Pruitt goes to the team that knows what they're doing and says why they have done, what they were done for, because they understand it, right? Like, you're always having to detective work backwards from, okay, so IndyCar says this, what does this actually mean? And IndyCar is going to be protective of its own teams and its own reputation, so they're not going to be forthright with what the teams are doing wrong, where the FIA is just like, hey, we done you for your plank, you know. It's they're not,
we have no allegiance to you.
yeah, we have no allegiance to you unless it's Ferrari, but you know, hey.
No, that's just whack now. That's just whack.
That's just whack, yeah. But you know, it there is something to be said for the Formula One model, and to everyone who thinks that they want the FIA gone tomorrow, just, do you want Stefano Domenicali running scrutineering? Really? I mean, this is what happens when a series has to police itself, and while it's also protecting its participants and dividing up the money, and you know, it gets messy.
Well, I'm back. My internet crashed twice during that conversation. in and out. Brand new internet, and it crashes on me twice. Brilliant. Obviously, it's Detroit this weekend.
I think we lost Baxty again.
Oh, his internet.
He's been sniped by the IndyCar. If IndyCar have the Boeing hitman, but
Verizon
have got him. Wait that way, he might be back.
Yeah, Detroit this weekend, Spain this weekend. What do we want to get to?
We have an IndyCar. It's double, isn't it? It's more of like the IMSA and then IndyCar this weekend. So you'll have a few IndyCar drivers competing with the IMSA teams. Usually it used to be with Chip Ganassi used to do it, that they would have the Chip Ganassi drivers drive the Cadillacs, or you would have the Honda driver, like the Andretti's, would compete with the Acura teams. So that'd be interesting. That'll be chaos qualifying, I think, for instance, tomorrow. But yeah, Spain coming up, Marshall.
So did we lose you too?
No, I'm here. All
right. Yeah, Spain this weekend. We've got the technical directive. Do we see anything changing? I don't, but I've already spoiled that one.
Yeah, I do think it might bring Red Bull a bit closer. Now, it's not. I don't think they're going to be like dominating, like they're going to be like overtaking McLaren. I think it might bring Red Bull a bit closer, like a 10th or something. But I do think it's going to affect teams more at the back. So a lot of these teams at the back have like, let's put everything on the flexi wings at the start and see can we maximize points. I think Mercedes are in trouble. Now we'll see how bad how much if they're saying that they feel like they're going to be affected, but we'll see. We'll have to see in qualifying and the race when it comes. But I will, because I know McLaren have said they brought their a lot of teams are smart. They'll have brought their, like we've talked about before, F1 teams will be one step ahead of the FIA. They will have, and the fans, like they will have brought their adjusted front wings and rear wings to like Imola or the races before to get used to the car, the adjustments before Spain. They're not going to turn up to Spain and like expect and see what's going to happen. Like, unless you're a smaller team with less resources and say like we can only have the upgrades for Spain.
Yeah, I think it's going to make minimal difference. I think the pecking order will remain the same. I think McLaren's going to be checked out again because Barcelona is a very technical like track that's very rewards cars that are quick in fast corners. A lot of fast corners in that reward sort of the McLaren features. So I think it'll be a McLaren walkover unless anything crazy happens. And I think that Verstappen will be, a distant third, and then we'll have Ferraris, Mercedes, and the rest. And I mean, Spain is always spread out too.
Yeah,
Spain
I'll
is
agree
always
with that.
quite a spread out race.
Yeah, I agree that as well. I think maybe the Williams might be ahead of the Mercedes or either the Ferrari, depending on. But no, I think, and as well, Spain rewards being good on your tires as well. And the Red Bull this year likes to chew its tires a lot. So, yeah, I think Spain. I think this is the last year of Spain as the as circuit the Barcelona, because we're going to the Madrid Street circuit, aren't we, in 26?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, if they don't run out of money by then.
I mean, we know how Valencia went.
Oh, but don't worry, this Spain is going to be in Madrid. It's going to be around the industrial park. It's going to have a roundabout in it. It's going to be great. It's going to attract so much fans. Oh,
Just like the one around the port in Valencia that had one good race in 3 years and then was done.
yeah.
And now is just a decrepit old, grown up. Like, have you seen the photos of the old Valencia track? It's
no, I haven't seen. I've only seen it when it was the track.
Oh no, people have gone down there to where the F1 track is, and like the old, I think the last year was 2013, 2012 maybe, but like the old advertising from that race is still down there, and it's all faded. It looks like one of those abandoned Olympic Olympic venues that's all like decrepit and falling apart.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I'm not looking forward to that track. It just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's not going to be something that people want, then why are you pushing this to happen? I know it's money, but
yeah. I think I know Stefano has said that he wants to have 2 Spanish races in the calendar. That he thinking of keeping have this Madrid and then have the circuit to Barcelona. BaxtyB free.
Oh my god, I'm alive.
Oh wow, you're here.
Let's see how long it takes. Yeah, sorry about that, chaps. My internet crashed on me 3 times. Hopefully it's fixed. I don't know what's going on.
So who's your pick for Spain, BaxtyB?
I have put it in the comments, but my pick for Spain is Max Verstappen. Only 2 drivers have won in Spain in the last 10 years. We got the baby. The first shifting happens, baby. We should have congratulated you for this, Fly. That was bad chairmanship on my part, but yes, Fly did have a baby boy a few weeks ago. Congratulations to Fly on that one. Yeah, I'm going for Max, just because I think he's very quick round here, always has been, and we've got to keep that stat of having it only being him and Lewis winning in the last 10 years. And also, he's been podium, non-podium, podium, non-podium. He didn't podium in Monaco, so I think he will definitely be on the podium.
Oh yeah,
I think he's going to be on the top step.
Isn't it? Yeah, every second race, Max is like wins or is on the podium.
Yeah,
like that. Like or he did, and then he has a terrible race.
Yeah,
wasn't it in like Bahrain? Like he won in Japan, had a terrible race in Bahrain, and then wins in Imola. Or like he's on the podium in Miami. Like it's mad.
Well, I'm going back to Lando. I'm going back to Lando. I didn't pick him last race and he won. I'm picking him again in Spain, so we'll see how that goes. Am I cursing him? Maybe, but we'll see.
Rory, who are you going for? You may have said already, but just to...
No, I haven't said yet. I'm still
okay. Well, I mean, you are the oracle, so what you say goes.
I am the oracle. I'm actually not going to pick. I'm not going to pick Lando because I want to see does that work in the sense that if I don't pick him, does he win or does he not win? I need to test the waters and see that. But no, I think
Portoletto.
I want to.
No.
No, we're not. No. I think I'm going to go.
Hülkenberg.
Verstappen as well. I think Verstappen. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. So therefore, Max Verstappen is going to win the Spanish Grand Prix. You heard it here first, because that is who Rory has picked. Though I haven't got a single one right all year, so maybe
this works. This is the sign of this is a joint effort.
Yes, that he may not get the dub this weekend. For me, quickly on the front wings, I think Lando rang the new front wing in Imola. So for me, I always thought it was going to be a nothing burger anyway, and I think that just confirms it that they were still ridiculously quick in Imola. in free practice when they ran the new front wing anyway, because these technical directives never bring anything of any worth anyway.
Unless you're Mercedes in 2022 at Belgium, when they said they're going to be closer to the field and they become a second slower.
Yes, I mean Mercedes, I think, are the ones that are going to be the most adversely affected because they had the most flexing front wing. If you listen to those that are in the know, and they've definitely been running a stiffer front wing since Imola. Just so happens that's when their results tailed off. So, Mercedes fans, we're going to be in a world of pain. That's for sure. Well, apologies everyone for my absolute shocking internet taking, kind of causing a bit of chaos in this episode. But that is it for today for this sort of F1 IndyCar mashup. A huge thank you to Marshall, who you can find on Threads, Double Wave Yellow. Huge thank you to Rory, who you can find Rory Talks Motorsport on Instagram and Threads, and Rory Talks F1 on X. You can find me, BaxtyB, on Twitter and BaxtyBF1 on Threads and BaxtyBF1 on YouTube as well. All the links are in the description below. A huge thank you to Fly as well for producing, as always, in the background. He's waving away with Mini Fly.
Look at him.
Little mini Fly. But until next time, guys, stay safe, and we shall speak to you all.
I'll be in Montreal for the next race, so I'll have to have a dispatches from Ile Notre Dame.
Of course, yes. You're going to be there, and I'll say this: Shez and I are going to be in Hungary, so we'll definitely do some content from there. So yeah,
nice.
We will be there. Okay. Until next time, guys, stay safe, and we shall speak to you all very soon.